Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from Maui, Hawaii, United States of America, July 20th, 2021. Today's talk, a personal sharing, this ongoing series of personal sharings with my own life, my own circumstances. I've called them uncertain futures, not specific to me. Uncertain futures, dancing with the angel of death. I've been last night particularly, and this morning, very deeply involved in self-reflection on mortality, on death, on loss, on life and living. I don't know where I'm going with this talk, by the way, and if these topics obviously are too provocative for you or whatever reason, just obviously please tune out. I want to share honestly, that's my hope and goal here, is to be so real in my self-discovery with you together, that honesty is the ground, the soil, the hope to be and engage this I want to say this mandala of life, but the truer expression is this sickening, provocative, radiant heaven world that we find ourselves unoptionally born into and awakening through the roots of our own DNA, our biological intelligence, cracking through the coma of conditioning and a mindful moment, a radiant moment of self-reflection. Aha, I am alive, I am breathing. I have a choice in the matter of how I think and feel and behave and perceive. And therein lies that journey that we're on called the Dharma life, the Dhamma life, the spiritual life, the vocation of being alive as a human and making good on the promise of being a human in this incredibly overwhelming context called life, planet Earth, galactic, cosmological, nuclear, the scope of distances and time, forced to deal with loss, despair, depression, injury, insult, judgment, oh my God, all the horrors that come down in the name of democracy and freedom and dictatorship, war, genocide, ethnic cleansing, diseases, all the stuff that we're forced to encounter as life on this planet, okay? The first noble truth of the Buddha's teaching, as I understand it, the truth of dukkha was so vitalizing to me. To hear that there was people on this planet that walked before us that said, hey, when you really are honest and look and feel, you will see this dukkha. Don't be afraid of dukkha. This deep, inherent embeddedness of, call it despair, dissatisfaction, this perpetual, near perpetual insipidness of phenomena that just can't quite satisfy the desire on the terms of hope and want. Man, I just bled with joy when I encountered that first noble truth of the Buddha's teaching. And then when I went to Burma and lived in a monastery as a monk and lived with those men and women who've renounced the world and wanted to understand from their own personal experience how to remove the arrow of one's own dukkha. I mean, I felt relieved that I'm now on the journey of awakening, finally. But here it is, I'm 50 years hence. And, I asked myself this morning, I don't know where the emotions come from. It doesn't matter anymore. Why? Not why is things the way they are. I have no clue ultimately. But why stay alive? And yes, you're breathing, you're walking, you're talking, there's love, there's hope. In breath, out breath. You know all the various ways to dance with her, that angel. You're making that death into a goddess of transformational resilience and patience. You got all the spins, dude. And I just broke down this morning and I said, Jesus Christ, what is this preoccupation with breathing and living? I don't know about you, but let me share something very personal. I've been navigating now for the last 3, 4, 5 years pre-diagnoses of the aneurysm, a navigational practice to go from human existence into the dimension of Tusita, the radiant dimension where the Buddha is said to be now incarnate, Maitreya. And I so, in my heart of hearts, in my meditation and my breathing, I want to unite. That deep coming home, right? That deep, I don't want to keep living here, only here because it's right to be here in the cultural, political, social, spiritual setting of making good on the promise of being alive here. I want to go home. I want to go home, right? Go there, dude. Be so rad that you are uncompromising in your fire, right? To come home to that place that is a refuge. The third noble truth of the Buddha's teaching, I was reflecting upon it, this nibbānification process. Extinction of fear, extinction of greed. These are just words to me. I don't know them in any ultimate sense, in the absolute absence within the substratum of being, the absence of delusion. Wow. But that thought, that very deep, passionate truth feel is the marrow right now of my conscience, if you will, the marrow of my dignity, the marrow of my passion, the marrow of my deepest desire for love is to come home to nibbāna. And I've never felt that fire quest so intimately, so provocatively. It's so disruptive. I was reading the early life of the Buddha, married to Yasodhara, a king, a prince, a queen, in northern India with all the accoutrements of joy and bliss and aesthetics and sensuality and learning and privilege, just that perfect life, right? And something cracked. Something cracked. The window pane of conformity and expectation and privilege cracked, it said, and there was that light. There was that light that kind of glimmered in through the break. And it illuminated something that brought that young man, Gautama, into a question: what is true? What is right? Who am I in the quest to anoint the highest desires of what it means to be alive? Isn't that our Jesus? Isn't that our Christ? Isn't that the radiance of what God means to you, Alan Clements? Well, are you on a God quest? The journey of actualization? Yes. The cathedral of existence, and I want to go to the altar of freedom. But I've got to get to that altar step by step. And I'm asking myself today, losing that sense of wanting to keep pushing, as Nick Cave keeps talking about, pushing that sky away, regardless, the incessant tragedy that we're all in. We're all in this mass extinction moment. We're all in a sun that's going to engulf this precious Mother Earth. Billions of years from now, a nanosecond to the boy or girl born a million billion years from now. But all of a sudden you go, oh my God, why, how? Just sometimes get tired of pushing the sky away. And I'm wondering, why is there such a taboo? Bear with me here, check out if you want. Why such a taboo with taking your life on your terms, on the altar of your integrity? Mindful, conscious euthanasia? Maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but over the last month, I don't know what I've shared publicly or not, part of my root in hope is my art. And I've wrote this book, Extinction X-Rated, and I am in the process of formulating, I dare even use the word, a theatrical presentation, not of the book itself, but of the writing, creation, context of the book, and the diagnoses of this ascending, acutely enlarged aortic aneurysm out of my heart that I've been given by the medical profession in Los Angeles, a ticking bomb, as they tell me. And yes, you cannot talk about that without including everyone and everything. We all are born to die. Why the taboo? Why the fear? Why the cultural prejudice to keep on keeping on, to keep on keeping on? Why not go with that wave, that flow, and take the fear out of that death and dance with her, love her, tantrify the space and navigate here to there with elegance and poise and cool. And that's what I'm thinking to myself, like in this film and this show that I'm writing, Dead Man Walking, Freedom Never Dies. I'm trying to understand, okay, the world collapsed for all of us. The world collapsed for me over the last 5 years, from the radical vilification of my friend Aung San Suu Kyi to the incarceration and the genocide of democracy in Burma today, to her imprisonment, to Nguyen Nguyen, the NLD spokesman and lawyer for Aung San Suu Kyi, who died in an insane prison yesterday from complications with COVID without being treated. And it's like, you know, you just get gnarled up in your rage out, right? It's just so wrong, and I just want to make it all so right. And like how to do that. And I'm thinking, okay, where to be, how to do it, what to say, what to create. And I'm writing this film, and I'm writing the notes of it. And I'm going like, okay, why keep on keeping on? And I'm thinking about, geez, you know, you chose not to have surgery. Okay, now you're choosing to elegantly, with high vulnerability, engage your angel of your own mortality. And I'm thinking, wow, rather than waiting for the sickle to strike me dead with a potential rupture or who knows, a miracle healing, those two dualities are like, is that really who you are? Is that really what you're trying to communicate to the world? To no matter what, fight on? No matter what, stand tall in the solidarity of your integrity, your conscience, your dignity, your mindfulness, your wisdom, your nibbāna, blah, 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 blah. You know, but what's true for you, right? What's really true for you? I keep telling myself I want to go inward and meditate and do yoga and do some dosing with the angel of my dreams and to co-create vistas of transformational, cool awakenings like sonic poems and suttas shared with the world, and make love and play and have a few kittens and cats and dogs and peacocks and goats and sunrises and sunsets. Oh my God, what a dreamer we are, right? But what's really true with your Dhamma? And I'm thinking, okay, maybe, as I woke up today, you know, I'm really struggling. The truth is, I'm struggling. I can't put my finger on it exactly. My back, I can barely stand up. I can barely lie down. The pain is really excruciating. Is it a symptom of the aorta? Don't be so melodramatic. It's probably just because of your age and sitting so much. Who knows? Weak and dizzy, not able to eat particularly. Oh my God, in breath, out breath, neither wish to live. Walk your emotional, digital, existential talk. And I'm going like, okay, now what? And I'm thinking, what have I not done that I want to do? My daughter, come to Maui, come to Bali, get a villa. Develop your little meditation center for self and a few other people. Invite those friends and lovers and families to come and to commune with your 10 Commandments and the poetry of your own Dhamma soul, and go up into the radiance at the altar of your Dhamma cathedral, and there enjoy your exploration of the third noble truth, nibbāna. I'm down with that. I'm really down with that. And I want to meditate. Yeah. There's some hope. I love the concept, but I love the experience more of actualizing a more focused, concentrated, mindful engagement of the phenomena of consciousness at the senses, primarily inside. Relational Dharma, engaged with other, yes, I can do that quite poetically and sensitively, a little bit, you know, awkward at the moment in relationship, not really quite sure what's appropriate, when, how. Small talk, medium talk, deep talk. I'm not sure I even want to be around talk, talk, talk. Feel, feel, feel. Meditation. Giving yourself liberty to be true to yourself. What a fucking unthinkable vocation it is to just be in perpetual, what? Right there, you have a choice, Alan, to be in perpetual what? Dukkha, suffering, despair, depression, or the radiance. You can't quite shake it, Alan. The radiance, get it out of you. The radiance of what? Freedom, hope, liberation, the development of the paramis, the bhavanification of consciousness. Dhamma, insert Dhamma, insert Dhamma. I'm thinking about why the Buddha suggested to his fellow monks and nuns, according to the text, do not take your life. Do not commit conscious suicide. It sends a despairing message to the lay people who support us. Not that it's wrong. Wow, interesting. I made a note this morning. Research, according to the Tipitaka, in the Vinaya, why the Buddha spoke about suicide in the way that he did. And yet at the same time, there were those nuns and monks who actually took their life. And even in the Tipitaka, we can read the documentation. In the process, in the way in which they did it, they became mindfully so alert that they attained Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, even Arhanta, the 4 stages of nibbāna, extinction, X-rated. They did the ultimate taboo and achieved the highest radiance at the altar of their Dhamma cathedral. Wow! So I'm asking myself today, take taboo out of your consciousness, Alan. There is no higher truth than the authenticity of your integrity as you see it and feel it. You are not obliged to anyone at this point, anything, any event, any memory, any experience, whatever. What will you do? And I'm really here at the precipice, July 20, 2021. My dear sister Daw San Suu Kyi being paraded before the world in an Orwellian military tribunal by Ming Online and his sick sack. And I'm outraged. And equally outraged that the entire world is fucking asleep about it. It's like, what a dagger. And it's, okay, don't do victim here. I mean, there's a part of me, be very super uber frank, there's a part of me that would like to investigate how to infiltrate the country and just find my way right into the soul door of Ming Online and Naypyidaw and go, bang, bang, dude. I fulfilled my bodhisattva vow. How's that for satirical theater on the stage of awakening? And it's like a genocide of democracy. The first noble truth of the Buddha's teaching, dukkha. Physical dukkha, emotional dukkha, the dukkha of anicca, of anatta. The tapestry of totality, inside and outside, in all dimensions, fraught with conditions that you can't control, Alan Clements. Even with your mindful intelligence, you can only navigate enough to be aware in that moment. You have no influence over the other causes outside of your web. The frustration of being in process of awakening, right? This is just an existential, poetic, spoken word, SCREAM, scream. And I wish I had more love in my heart to go, oh honey, I love you, I can't wait to make love tonight. In the poetry of our MDMA that's so deep and sweet and eternal, in the ecstasy of our nibbāna. It's like, yes, what are you doing tonight? I'm going to watch a Netflix show. I'm going to drive to the store, buy some food. I've got some wine. I've got a joint. Blah, 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 blah. It's so fucking boring. The Buddha to be left his stunning wife, pregnant, his family, his parents, his friends, the courtesans, his closet, his jewels, his wealth, his credit cards, his Lamborghini, whatever, and said, it's not enough. I feel that right now. It's just not enough to keep on pushing, to keep on trusting, to keep on calling this little fucking hovel home and earth cool and rad. It's just not enough. And the dude walked the land, saw the heavenly messengers. You've got one, I've got one. We all know that we're going to die. We all know that we're going to age. We all know that the pandemic, we all know that people lie to us. We all know that the oligarchs in Silicon Valley, blah, 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 and Wall Street, and Moderna price goes up, 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 up. The Third Reich vaccine. Oh my God, conspiratorial, all the porno of who to trust, what to believe, jab, jab, jab. Where are we? It's a big cluster of who knows what the truth is anymore. I want out. The house is burning. It's crazy. How many more days can you do your poem, Alan, and still call it satisfying? You're going to do burn yourself on digital camera? You're going to take a high dose of psilocybin? What's going to be the next frontier at the altar of your Dhamma cathedral? Nibbāna? I want to be up with Maitreya. The Buddha walked. He said, it ain't here. And he went and sat, met people, listened, asked questions according to these texts and commentaries, achieved the radiance of those practices. That's so cool. I mean, if I had a really distillation of what I want right now, I want heightened states of consciousness. For God's sake, who out there philanthropically wants to buy a beautiful little mansion right up here in Lower Kula? And guess what? You have a permanent cottage on that property. I'll do everything I can to share whatever wisdom, friends, and notes with you. Personal mentoring, personal friendship. Just want a home, not a home. I don't want to drive. What do you want right now? Do you want to die? In the absence of the monastic creation, where I can sit and walk and do yoga and eat and fast and low dose, high dose, medium dose, and explore and feel and cry and scream. This is the peak of my life. I'm at the altar of peak. You've only got a few seconds left on this planet Earth. You and me and the animals and the trees. We're in an extinction moment. Stating something so obvious. Okay, you've got a couple of seconds before midnight. And it's like, let's meet at Casanova's for a salad. Let's have a glass of port tonight and Play chess? Yeah. Everyone, to state the obvious, has a right to their aesthetic. I think what I'm hearing in myself is I'm a little bit bored, a little bit in denial of the isolation from the pandemic and the lockdown and the stay at home. And how many more times are people going to ask, have you had the vaccination, Alan? Have you had the vaccination, Alan? What do you think about the vaccination, Alan? It's like, I don't know who coined the term noise, but the noise is deafening today. Too isolated? Find an unthinkably elegant, cool, dynamic lady, lover, goddess, divine, savant, creative, playmate on the altar of shared space. Okay, cool. Hello, I love you. And right there, what will you do? What is your tantra? Forgetting time and the beautification of all things? Do you want to feel a few moments of glory before you do what those nuns and monks did way back in the day and became enlightened as they took their life? Maybe I should rent an empty theater here in Kahului, the Mac or the Castle, and do a one-off show, Dead Man Walking, Freedom Never Dies, and at the end, consciously euthanize and go out with a quiet, calm, permanent shavasana to an audience of none. What do you want at this stage? I feel like 50 years ago I left Venice and traveled to Asia and eventually found myself ordaining because that's what I wanted to do, to go in. And here it is, 50 years later. 50 years of mindfulness and the world's gotten worse. And me too. Really? The edge has never been more defined. It's so sharp with possibility. The fire is so white hot. This is the best. You're at the peak. It's not all collapse at this point. You're in peak cognitive clarity. Do not commit the tragedy of open heart surgery to dull your senses, to live longer. To live longer? Why live longer when you've got this moment now? But what will you do with this moment? Well, what do I really want to do? Someone asked me last night, what would make me happy? And I gave like a 15-minute bullshit answer. And I don't really know what would make me happy. A kiss, a timeless kiss, a kiss of transformational, high nibbānic, acid psilocybin awakening with lover, with the angel of immortality, not death. To meet a saint, to meet my teacher, the Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita or Mahasi Sayadaw, or what really excites me, and I know I'm being so indulgent, but this is where I'm at. I want to meet a Buddha to be. That is the most interesting music I could imagine listening to and playing. And if I were invited to co-create something there, wow. I've always loved, I don't know why, the dialectical, the interviewing conversation. I just love conversation of high meaning, vibratory meaning. I've interviewed sex workers and soldiers and torturers and prime ministers and Nobel laureates and executioners, devils. I find the dialogue interesting. How interesting it would be to meet a woman or a man, a Buddha to be, that has the parami that's so ripe that in one birth, Mr. Clements, I will find that sacred space. And the fruitions of my endless birth in the samsara will come to the radiant altar of my own Dhamma truth, and I will achieve the state of Buddhahood. And with it, the absolute absence of delusion, greed, and fear, and with it, high luminosity of psychic skills, and equally, the capacity to help individuals like you, Mr. Clements, overcome what you don't see in yourself. That I'm able to say what I don't know and point to the not knowing in myself. I want to be in a conversation with those few, one, Buddha to be in a woman's body, who helps me discover what I don't see in myself to achieve nibbāna. That's the desire. I don't need to keep on pushing the sky away, Mr. Cave. I don't need to keep on finding inspiration in the tragedy when I've got a GPS that's programmed on fine location. I mean, look at all of you out there and how you have found love in your life. The serendipity of romance and eroticism and children and family. And you have found, you are occupying the dynamic strangeness of twin flameness. You came home through lover. And you also have infused Dharma and spirituality, your own reverential experience of burning woman, burning man, existential God, goddess. And there you are. And we're all in that same little palace chamber. What will we do right now? Who will I touch? Who will touch me? What will I discover? What is it that you want to discover? I don't want to commit mindful euthanasia. I don't want to just die. I don't want to commit suicide. I'm not afraid of dying. But what I want in that process is greater access to intimate, awakened, heightened dialogue. That's it. When I look at the Buddha's teachings, and when he left the palace, according to what I've read, he sought dialogue. I want to know the people in my area who claim to know the secret, timeless teachings of Dharma or existence. And I want to interface with them and discover what I don't know in myself. And if they point me to practices and trainings and teachings, I want to fulfill the integrity of doing that inside of myself, for I know ehipassiko wupanai. I will know for myself the truth of something. That right there, ehipassiko. This is my rant for self-actualization. I want to say I encourage you to have your own rant, but I don't know how else to get to it. Meditating, doing yoga, near death, but I want to be in the company of my samsaric sangha. And in this birth, for the final minutes before I transpire, before you transpire, to eroticize and ubuntify and to dharmically play in the highest radiance. This is not a time for ordinary. I'm hearing myself very loud and intimately clear. I want to be among those few who can help me discover something together that takes us so high that it's realized in the symbolism of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So I will conclude today. Thank you for tuning in. I am processing a lot, more so by the week. It's very intense to be dealing with symptoms and away from an emergency room where there's no chance of survival, I'm told. And to really, I want to say walk the walk, but to embody hyper intimate respect for the core of my own vulnerability and desire to take the Dhamma, the Dharma higher. Come with me, please, fellow sisters and brothers, samsaric Sangha members, in our fine-tuning symphony of love. Let's create an existential set of suttas together. Hymns, codes, hacking existence, and rarefying our own wisdom such that our original expression is compassion-laced and supports other people walking along this desert of existence to look up at the moon, then a sun, and then a star, and find guidance along this very lonely way. The Four Noble Truths were my sun, were my star. They still are. This is my yearning after so much loss and death and fear and despair, my mother and father and my teacher dying, my three best men friends, the loss of a relationship, the near loss of my daughter, the loss of a book contract and a film deal, the loss of my beloved friends and sisters and brothers in Burma, the genocide of democracy, the apathy and the impotence of the world leaders in the United Nations in response to the blessed people of Myanmar, the heartache, the heartbreak. I'm writing about it right now. I'm creating a show, a one-person, one audience, riff, scream, expression of my heart, a suicide note. I don't know exactly what to call it. Dead man walking, freedom never dies. That's bold. But my heart has been broken. It's continuing to break. I don't know about you. I listen to young Greta standing in front of the United Nations nearly 2 years ago, screaming in her own elegant, silent voice, I want no more of your fantasies of endless economic growth and fairy tales of money and profit and privilege and blah, blah, blah. Ecosystems are collapsing. Entire civilizations are suffering. And all you keep talking about is your BS money. I don't know what more to say except I want out, I want in, I want through. I don't want to give up right now of this journey of my Dhamma life. I'm very close to the altar of my liberation. Maybe hard to walk, but I will get there. And I will kneel before my goddess and God and my Buddha, my Dhamma, my wife, my freedom, my nibbāna, and I will go home to that sacred place. I don't want to sound melodramatic here, but do not do anything to memorialize my death. Do nothing. Go silently into the light. And that is where I'm going. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Very close to something different. I can hear that clock ticking here, there, and everywhere. It's a hymn. It's not a scare. It's a hymn. It's music. I'm following something very beautiful, but it may not be conventional. I want to go home to nibbāna, extinction of becoming, extinction of redeathing, extinction of delusion. I don't know how else to frame the core narrative that is the only thing I can see in my soul right now that's light enough to walk towards. So, thank you for being part of this wild little poem, scream, rant, attempt to get closer to the storyline of this film, this show, Dead Man Walking, Freedom Never Dies. I just don't know exactly what the third act is, and I am trying to figure out here. Maybe it's mindful euthanasia. I don't know. Maybe it's immolation of love. Maybe it's a marriage. Maybe it's a rebirth with Maitreya and my samsaric sangha to finally take radiant final birth, final birth, final birth, final birth, and there understand the most luminous things known in this samsara: freedom from fear, freedom from greed, freedom from delusion, and equally the freedom to understand the symphony, the music of love. That brings a smile to my heart. Goddess of death, I see you. I will dance with you. I will learn to love you and respect you. But I will not fear you. So from my heart to yours. Have a great day, and God willing, hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you.